can I just say one thing firstly? I love the name Eat Sleep Boxing Repeat.
Welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. Delighted to be joined by Elliot Grigg, which of course means we are in preview mode. This one, a massive heavyweight dust-up on October 25th between Joseph Parker and Fabio Wardley. Before we get into it, please do subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're not doing so already. All of your boxing needs up and under one roof. Plenty of stuff on basically a daily basis, whether it's previews, reviews, big fight breakdowns, betting tip shows, interviews with fighters. Loads of that content coming, as I said, on basically a daily basis. So be sure to check out the channel. Like this video as well if you're enjoying what Elliot and I are rambling about. Let us know in the comments your thoughts on what we're about to discuss. As I said, Parker Wardley, massive pay-per-view heavyweight fight, I must say, but that's a story for another day. But yeah, Parker Wardley, I think fair play to both for taking this fight, to be honest with you, because Joseph Parker doesn't need to. I think he's just waiting for a world title shot. He deserves the Usyk fight, in my opinion. But also fair play to Fabio Wardley for like jumping up a huge amount of levels here to fight. Arguably at the minute, like a top three, definitely top five heavyweight, and Joseph Parker. So yeah, looking forward to this fight. We always love a heavyweight dust up. So yeah, just give me your initial thoughts and a little prediction there as well, please, Elliot, for this
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, you know what? I agree with you entirely what you're saying. It's a weird fight for me, to be honest with you. It's a very weird fight. If I'm surprised Parker's taken it, to be perfectly honest with you. I think, it is a dangerous fight for both, but I think if, Wardley can come through maybe a decision loss, it's not the end of the world for him, frankly. If he loses, I think he can definitely come again. If Parker loses, I think there could be Parker in the wilderness. And it seems like you've got that sense of, momentum seems to be kind of against Joe Parker when it comes to sort of like the Usyk fight. People don't necessarily want to see that, seemingly. So he's almost having to sort of like jump in here, even though I think he deserves that fight. I think this almost reminds me of the kind of Joyce when Joyce was, like kind of almost like number one contender, and then he fought Zhang, got battered. Like I wouldn't be surprised if kind of like this thing happens to Joe Parker. To be honest with you, like it just seems a bit of a reckless fight for me to take at this stage, being so close to potentially the summit fight against Usyk. So yeah, I think it makes a lot more sense in ways for Fabio Wardley to take it, even though it's probably too soon. But if he can, we've seen Parker kind of not necessarily the biggest puncher either at heavyweight. So obviously, yeah, you got that stoppage over Baconi, but we won't talk anything about that. But the wins that points wins really against like Wilder and Zhang, Keane, not obviously top heavyweight. So the guys he's kind of went the distance with Massey. So for me, it's like he's not necessarily gonna go and stop Wardley in that way. To be honest, I think Wardley think, okay, I'm not going to get like obliterated as if I was going to fight maybe someone like a Joshua or a Wilder or one of those guys going to like knock me out like that. So I think it makes more sense for him. I actually going to go. I actually think this is a banana skin for Parker. I really do. I actually can see Fabio Wardley winning this. It sounds like I know your eyes are on sources there, your head's on Mars, but I actually have got a real suspicion that I think it's a sort of fight for me where Parker will win every round and then get stopped. That's kind of how I see it happening. I think like there's no chance of Wardley outboxing him, but I've just got a suspicion that at some point Wardley will catch him. And obviously, so we've seen Wardley kind of step on fighters when he's had the chance. So I think it's a good finisher in that respect. So I think that's going to happen. I think I'm predicting a Wardley stoppage in this fight, somewhere maybe around sort of 7, 8, 9. I genuinely think Fabio Wardley can do it, and I mean, I almost feel like as well. I don't know, I can't speak on behalf of, Turkey, etc. But I almost feel like they'd rather have Wardley versus Usyk than Parker Usyk. I really feel like Parker's just there's no appetite seemingly in the sort of power brokers for that fight. I don't think. So for me, I think it'd also do them a favour. But I'm going to go with Wardley. Wardley KO, Paul, talk to me.
Crazy, crazy. Fair play to you, mate. It's a big call, and do you know what? I can see your thought process there. I mean, you just have to look at Fabio Wardley's last fight, don't you, against Justice Tunney? Like, lost every single round, down what, 9 rounds. In the 10th, he just lands a Hail Mary and and knocks out Justice Tunney after losing literally every minute of the fight. And that's why you can't write him off. He's a huge puncher. He's got that in his arsenal, Fabio Wardley. But I just can't back him to beat like these top guys. Do you know what I mean? Like Justice Hooney's a good boxer, but is he a top 10 heavyweight? Probably not. Joseph Parker's a top five heavyweight, arguably top three at the minute. And I think it's just he's biting off more than he can chew here, Fabio Wardley. What I will say is it's very high risk, low reward for Parker because if he wins, he's like, well, yeah, that was always going to happen kind of thing. But if he loses, it's disastrous, really. Whereas if you're Fabio Wardley, I don't think you can lose here at all, even if you do get beaten and even if you do get stopped. I don't think it's the end of the world, to be honest with you. For Fabio Wardley, just because again, it would come out after being an after timer, it would be like, but he was never going to win that. He just, he gambled and it didn't pay off. Sure, we go again. That's the thing I'm kind of getting with Fabio Wardley, and I can see your thought process as to why you're picking him. And I'd say a few people will agree with you just because he always has that puncher's chance. But I just can't I can't back Fabio Wardley to win this fight. I'm going the other way, mate. I think Joseph Parker will I don't think he'd get him out of there within a couple of rounds or anything like a Bacoli, as we said, but then, kind of take that with a pinch of salt given the shape Bacoli was in. Um and how he took it on a couple of hours' notice. Anyway, Joseph Parker for me wins this fight. He wins every round up until I think he stops Fabio Wardley somewhere around round six, round five, round six, round seven. I think Joseph Parker will stop Fabio Wardley in the mid rounds. I think he's just far too good for him, to be perfectly honest. So yeah, that's my thoughts. We're not aligned today. We're going against each other. Guys, let us know in the comments, as I said, your thoughts, because this could divide a lot of opinion within boxing circles. So yeah, be sure to let us know your thoughts. And look, follow-up questions made after our initial thoughts there. Just a couple of quick ones. We've mentioned the Usyk one there for Parker. What chances do you actually give him of beating Usyk if that fight happens? Do you give him any chance?
No, I actually really don't. I think look, I know Usyk's injured at the moment. I mean, I might even back him with an injury if Joe Parker. It sounds a harsh thing to say, but I just feel like is Parker going to stop Usyk for me? Absolutely not. And is he going to outbox Usyk for me? Absolutely not. So I kind of give him such a little chance. I think Parker's not the biggest heavyweight either in stature. Like I know he's obviously put on a lot of muscle, but I think like if you saw them like face to face, it wouldn't be like when you saw Fury versus Usyk. Even you're thinking like, that's a monster. Like how would he get to him? I feel like Usyk, even though he's I think he has slowed down a little bit. To be perfectly honest with you, in the last couple of fights, I still think he'd have too much for Parker. I actually think he'd stop Joe Parker. I really do. I think how like Parker got stopped kind of by choice in that kind of like, I think maybe on the sort of exhaustive kind of like rounds where you just kind of let down the stretch. And then we've seen Usyk finish so strongly. I just think he'd stop Parker late. I think he'd have far too much room, and that's not a criticism of Joe Parker. I just think Usyk's got too much room, which I also feel is the kind of sentiment behind this feeling that I'm getting, which I don't necessarily think people will necessarily even want to see Joe Parker fight Usyk, just because I feel like they want Usyk to kind of I think they want you to kind of continually do things that are like pushing the envelope. Like, for example, fighting someone like a Talma, even though I don't think a Talma's ready for it. I think more people would rather see that than they would see Parker, in there. I think they give a Talma a live chance just because he's got that one punch KO, which Parker doesn't have. So for me, yeah, I don't see it. I don't see Parker having any chance. I give him like just 10, but not even that. That's high. I'd give him like 5%. I really do think Usyk's just a massive favourite in this fight. I really do.
I agree, mate. I do like Joseph Parker, and I think I maybe have him hold him a little higher regard than yourself. But I can't see anything other than an Usyk victory there as well. Probably, yeah, would have backed him to late to stop him. Maybe I could see it, but I'd probably see it a points thing. I'm at, against Parker. That's probably where I'm going with it, to be honest. And yeah, just finally back to Fabio Wardley, your man who you predict is going to stop Joseph Parker. Tell me this: can he win a world title?
Oh, then I think great introduction to that question as well. I think for me, no. For me, no. For me, no. I think I mean I know he's only what is he 30 years old now. I think you've got which is still obviously like a baby really when you talk about heavyweights, but I think you've got to look at some of the other names that are around there when Usyk does retire and those belts arguably get fractured. The town was obviously a name that I mentioned. But I look at other sort of names, around the sort of top 10. I mean, even people like, like if he were to fight someone like a Coley, would I back him to beat a Coley? Probably not either. Even like names like that, they're kind of fringe guys. They're kind of competing. Daniel Dubois is obviously still a very young guy. I wouldn't back him to beat Daniel Dubois in a firefight either. So for me, even when those belts do get kind of fractured, there are other names which I think would beat him, to be honest with you. So no. But I do think Fabio Wardley is the sort of guy that could be in exciting fights just for the style that he obviously has. So if they can kind of keep him, almost get him to a level where he's kind of like world level and like it's credible world level opponents. So you're not just having like guys that are like world level beating on someone who's like British level. You've got someone who's a credible world level fighter, and you could really put him in some really fun fights there and just have like sort of firefights. But yeah, I don't see him prevailing and winning a world title, I'm afraid, even though I do like Fabio Wardley as a fighter.
Yeah, you make a few good points, mate, but ultimately I can't be. If I'm not backing him to beat Joseph Parker, I'm not backing him to win a world title. I think that's probably no shock to anybody. I'd be I mean, you could say there's been worse. Has there been worse world heavyweight champions? Charles Martin springs to mind. Um, you know what I mean? So who's to say he can't? But I just can't see in the current boxing climate and who's coming up to that world level. Your likes of the Atomas of this world, Dubois still going to be around. You know what I mean? Those kind of guys. I'm not backing Fabio Wardley to beat any of them, so no, I'm going to say no as well. But that's all we've got time for, unfortunately. Enjoyed that preview as always with yourself, Elliot. Guys, let us know in the comments your thoughts. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not doing so already, and yeah, enjoy this one. Whether you're tuning in on pay-per-view or whether you'll be maybe listening on the radio, like some of us like to sometimes do at ESBR. Yes, guys, thanks very much for watching. As always, Elliot, thanks for doing this preview, and I'll speak to you again soon.